Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another Relationship Thursday. We can give y'all a second to jump on in here and tune in. We thank y'all for coming back another week. We're getting things set up over here.
Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching this later, I just want you to know you're in the right place. You're in the right place on a Thursday night. You know, want to have a little conversation. You want to get some good insight. You want to talk about some things. And if that's where you are in your mind, then you are in the right spot watching us live. My name is Iana Ma'at, and this is...
Who am I? You introduced me.
What? I did. I said this is...
I want you to introduce
my
me.
fabulous, my phenomenal, my amazing, my awesome, my debonair, doing on the grind, disciplined, protector, and lover, husband, Ayize.
Oh, thank you, baby.
Oh, I'm so proud of him, y'all. I gotta shout him out, y'all. He is like on a whole nother level with his discipline right now. And I know you feel the difference.
I do.
I feel the difference. I see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to shout you out, black man.
Thank you, babe. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but it's definitely been worth it.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
So y'all let us know where y'all are tuning in from. Again, this is another Relationship Thursday, and please, please, please share this video.
Yeah. So as I was saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted.
I'm like, so if you have not watched us before, this is your first time. We are therapists. We're licensed therapists, and we do this work together, helping people, do this couples work, family relationship work, people dynamics work. But we don't just do this because this is what we're trained to do. This is what we're called to do. And we think that our most amazing credit is the fact that we are in relationship, doing the daggone thing every day, trying our best, falling down, getting back up, and trying again. Mm-hmm. And that's where we pull a great deal of our expertise from as well. Yeah. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So I got shout out Fine 29. Hey sis, I see you. And Jessica. Jessica just celebrated an anniversary, her 1-year anniversary. So y'all give her some love.
What's up, Jessica? Hey, Jessica, I saw your post too. It actually made me laugh. The post she put on Facebook about having to change the last name and why she got to go through this process and that was fun. That was fun.
So I see the Texas is in the house. Latanya, we see you, and our good brother Bryant. What's going on? He's always on. So we appreciate you. And West Palm Beach, Florida is in the house. And guess what? Philly is in the house. Our sis Stephanie Maxwell, and y'all, it's her birthday. Was not today, but it just passed this Saturday, and she turned 25 years young.
Okay.
That's what's up. Happy belated birthday. Manifest Raw, we see you. And Raquel, we see you. Mickey, Washington State, you representing Washington State in the house. So again, as you come on, we just want to make sure that you do your best to pay attention. You know what I mean? Focus this time. And really figure out what is it that is standing out for you. What is it that is really resonating with you? Because there's something that you should be getting, no matter what. No matter when I'm listening to somebody, I don't care where it is, what's going on, what the topic is. There's something that always resonates with me, and I try to make a note of it because I'm like, yo, what's that about for me? What's that about for me? So make sure that you do that this evening. Tonight, y'all, we're talking about what, Big Baba?
We're talking about toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
Mm-hmm. And, truth be told, y'all, I actually had some sort of feelings when we made the decision that we were going to discuss this topic, because this right here, it comes all up and down my lane. Me being a man and, me being in a patriarchal society and really having some stuff that I'm trying to work out. And it's really an uncomfortable subject. But I think that it's an important subject that we need to touch on. And so I actually lifted it up this week on my wife's radio show, the whole piece around toxic masculinity. So we're going to dive into this specifically as it pertains to intimacy in your relationship. And it's not just about intimate partner relationship stuff. It's about relationships that you have with your children, relationships that you have with your parents, co-workers, or whomever it may be.
With yourself.
Yeah, with yourself. Mm-hmm. This thing is really serious, y'all. And so again, we want to make sure that we hear your voice, not just us talking to you, but we want to make sure we hear your voice. So we're going to be asking y'all some pivotal questions during this Facebook Live and YouTube Live to see what your thoughts are around toxic masculinity.
So I just want to do this really quickly. I want to ask you again to share this video. Please share it. Drop comments as you listen and as things come up for you, because we want to have conversation. We want to hear from y'all. I just want to give a definition for what toxic masculinity is. Again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about toxic masculinity and how it impacts not only your intimate partner relationship, but also the relationship you have with yourself and other people around you. So look, you know, if you Google it, you know, look around, it's all kinds of stuff out here talking about toxic masculinity. And I remember when we first started processing this thing, my husband was kind of like, I mean, why is that even a term? Didn't you say that?
I did.
He said, why is that even a term? Why you got to put the word toxic with masculinity? So we kind of talked that thing through, and we'll share a little bit more as we go on this evening. But toxic masculinity, y'all, for you note takers out there, is defined as adherence to traditional male gender roles. Is the music still on?
Do you want it on?
No, how long are they supposed to be? Turn that thing off.
What's wrong with the music?
Like, oh, this little
we can't get some background, set the tone.
The whole time, boo? The whole time? Nah. Excuse us. Okay, look. So toxic masculinity. All right. Hold on. Let's see who said that. Hello, Audrey. We see you. Okay. Toxic masculinity is thus defined. It's defined as adherence to traditional male gender roles that restrict the kinds of emotions allowable for boys and men to express, including social expectations that men seek to be dominant, like the alpha male, and limit their emotional range primarily to expressions of anger. So basically what it's saying is putting men in a box and defining manhood as things that look, you know, you can define this better than me, that look like strength, quote unquote, that, you know, that bring about, you know, guess what? Toxic masculinity is Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? He's a perfect example, you know what I'm saying, of what toxic masculinity is all about. It's this image, it's this this presentation that really tries to dominate, that tries to be all things and super strong, and you know, I can't be sensitive and that kind of thing. And you know, I can't, you know, I mean, this may be not toxic, but sometimes if I just touch you a certain way, you know where I'm going with this? Can I go?
Okay.
Oh, if I just touch my husband a certain way, right? He like, what you doing? And I'm like, what? I'm touching you. He's like, I'm a man. Don't touch me like that.
I don't ever say I'm a man.
You do. You'll say like,
that,
I'm a dude. Like, what do you like?
Yeah.
You have,
but I do give you certain energy. Like, if you try to go around certain places,
you have.
Like, I'll move. I'll jump.
I'll say like, well, you touch me, and you like,
yeah,
but you're a woman.
Yeah,
I'm a dude, right? So anyway, that's not necessarily toxic masculinity, but again, it's kind of having this box that we put what it means to be a man in, and then adhering to that so rigidly that if anybody comes outside of that, then you are criticized, then you know, you are dumped on, and that can, you know, get into our relationships. It gets into how we perceive our man, how vulnerable they're able to be with us. Sometimes as women, we don't even allow them to be all of who they can be. They can't access all range of emotions because all they can, as this definition talked about, access is anger. You know what I'm saying? And things that, you know, kind of exude quote unquote toughness, but they can't, you know, express anything else. And so when you have to sit up in that space all the time, I'm just trying to figure out, how does that feel? Because that right there is, to me, a lonely place to be. And so tonight we're going to talk about that. And I just want to know, as you all are listening to the definition, again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about toxic masculinity tonight. And there may be some people who push back on it because, you know what I'm saying? Culture is a significant thing to break. And much of what we define as what is appropriate or okay or the norm for being a man, for being a woman, man, that thing is, that's taught from the time we little. So we might be challenging some things tonight that you're like, ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm not a woman and I don't need to be a woman. I'm a man, whatever. But we want you to think about how that thing is perhaps impacting you in ways that you did not realize, perhaps as a man, limiting you, and perhaps even women, you know, in your own relationship, you feel like you can't really get to him because somehow he's caught up in that mess. You understand? And Raquel said she's turned off by that type of masculinity. You know, that's a little bit too much. It's not attractive to her.
So before we really dive into this, now we've kind of sort of started diving into it, but I do want to explore the definition just a little bit further. What's up, Shane? I do want to explore it a little bit further. The reason why I want to explore it further is because my wife alluded to earlier. When I first heard the term, not first heard the term, but recently I've been hearing it a lot more. I heard Terry Crews mention it in the video. I saw 50 Cent criticizing Terry Crews for the way he was.
50 Cent gets on my nerves.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So when I hear the term toxic masculinity, to me it almost instantaneously conjures up feelings of rejection, and so I want to reject the term.
Oh, feelings of rejection for you?
Yeah, I want to reject it. I don't want to embrace. I don't want to explore. I don't want to accept the term toxic masculinity because, truth be told, I feel that there's a effeminization of men in general, but Black men in particular. And so to put toxic in front of masculinity,
well, that's a whole other topic. You know, going out a whole other thing.
It's almost to say masculinity in and of itself is a toxic thing. Now I know toxic masculinity is different, but why do we got to coin it toxic masculinity? We don't, you know, necessarily coin femininity and put any adjectives in front of that to describe it. So we did discuss, but I think I don't remember what you said, but I don't.
How do you not?
I think because I was so preoccupied with the fact that we're throwing out this term toxic masculinity, and again, it's not to say it doesn't exist, but I think that it's important to know that when you say that, are you trying to erase men? Is there any erasure of men that's taking place where it's difficult or it's not okay for a man to be a man? And so, again, that's my initial reaction. But upon further probing and examination, you know, yeah, I can get down with the term in terms of understanding what it actually means on a deeper level. But my initial reaction was like, why it's gotta be toxic masculinity?
Okay, so let's establish some things. I want y'all to, you know, tell me what you think about this. So my husband, I can't believe you just say I don't remember.
It was a long time ago.
It wasn't a long time ago, but it was like last week.
It was a long time ago for me.
A long time ago. Because he was saying it's like, why is there even that term? It's not toxic femininity. Right. But just real quick, let's just sidebar real quick. This society, as you hear us talk about when we talk about different things that when it comes to relationships and so forth, this society is a patriarchal society. Mm-hmm. So if it's based on patriarchy and it's based on men being in charge and men, particularly white men, being the dominant person being in the place, then there is no equal toxic femininity. It's toxic because it is overwhelming, overbearing. There's an erasure of women that has happened.
That's true.
Right. And so because of that, it's not just about your right to be. It's like, do I have a space too? Mm-hmm. And why is it that men take up all the space and define not only what they think is okay for them, but what's okay for others as well? So it's about more than just how you represent on your own. So that's why there is no term, because women ain't, you know, historically running things. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. So there is no equal. We want to talk about some harmful effects. Okay, we're going to focus in some harmful effects of toxic masculinity and how it impacts relationships. And I would just, you know, ask people to think about, you know, some of the ways that you might subscribe to it, some of the things that, you know, you might consider yourself to be, as I do, and most folks who vibe with us do. You might consider yourself to be a conscious person, a deep thinker, an intellectual, someone who, you know, you have some good common sense and some education, you know, and yet you might subscribe to some of the things that would be defined as not helpful. Mm-hmm. And would be defined as a trait of toxic masculinity. Number one, the suppression of emotion. The suppression of emotion. Like, you know, we've heard this, right? We hear about what we say, like, when you're a little boy, like, you know, toughen up, you know what I'm saying? Stand up. That's right. That's my man. All right. Brush it off. Right. Mm-hmm. And isn't this something that still happens even for those of us who, and even men who feel like they understand, like, we need to be able to let our feelings out, but only to a certain point. And it's more acceptable for women or girls to kind of tap into those emotions because we naturally, and that's not all women or girls, right? But generally can tap into it easily. But why isn't that okay for men to do that? Why isn't that okay for boys to do that? And what are we messaging to our young boys, you know what I'm saying? And to our men when we say like straight up, like, nah, like there's a limit to that. Like, no, you got to represent, pull it together. No, like cut it off. Why can't you just fall to pieces and cry? Any men on the stream tonight have ever just fallen to pieces and allowed yourself to cry and bend over and let your woman hold you? Or maybe you just allow yourself by yourself, not even with another person, to just break down and go to a whole nother level, like many women do. And we know that there are plenty of women who are, you know, a fan of crying and getting all sensitive and emotional too. But the suppression of emotion, particularly when you are being inhibited from that because of how you see yourself in the world and what you think is okay and not okay, man, that thing right there will hem you up. People who hold stuff in, they have something that I like to call breakthroughs, but they come out disguised as breakdowns. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Nervous breakdowns. Breakups. Nervous breakdowns. Breakouts. But they're really, a breakdown is a breakthrough. Let me help you understand that. But that suppression of emotion is a trait of toxic masculinity. Andrea says, I don't think masculinity is toxic, but there are some behaviors some men exhibit that can be characterized as such. Yes, I get you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And so, you know, my wife should just ask the question as to whether or not there's any men out here who have ever broken down. You know, I know I have, and I've broken down in front of you. I may have discreetly broken down in front of the children at a funeral, or even as it pertains to like just some things that we may have been going through as a family. Just expressing emotion, and it's not easy to do, but it is necessary. It's necessary because it's liberating, it's freeing. But what I will say is that I'm curious.
And you would say you've broken down, or you've shared some emotion. You've broken down.
I feel like I have. Oh, you might not. I don't look like you, but I feel like I'm
like, okay, okay.
No, you gonna criticize my breakdown? No. Hold up. I feel like I'm being judged on the breakdown now. Y'all see this? Y'all see the way she responded to that? You trying to say you ain't really break down? I mean, that's a breakdown. I broke down.
No, I mean, but you're right. Like you are different. Yeah, and we are different.
Yeah, I respect that difference.
Yeah, and I respect it, John. I'm just like, I didn't know that you would characterize yourself as having ever, you know, a breakdown. You know what I mean? Like. But definitely you have shed tears and express your feelings, and your bottom lip might have trembled a little bit.
A little bit? Come on now. So Sham made a comment a second ago, and he said that it took him 10 years, I believe.
He said I didn't
after
cry
his mom's passing
about my mama's death until a decade later. A decade later? What's wrong with me? Until a decade. Okay, Sham, this is our man Sham. He says, I didn't cry about my mama's death until a decade later because she told me to be a man and not cry. Oh, thank you for being so courageous and sharing that. That's deep right there. You know, and so the one that you love, your mother, who you needed to shed some tears for, actually said, don't do that. And that's the thing, is that it's the ones who love us the most, who have given us so much, who we respect the most, who oftentimes give us those parameters, or they show up that way. Yeah. Right. Because a lot of times it's not what people say, it's how they are. It's how other men are, you know, and that, you know, shows you what to do. Yeah. And it keeps us bound. So I'm so glad that you finally did let it out. Come on now, Tramila, you talking about something I did throw a little shade his way. Yeah, I was throwing shade. I was like, oh, but he had to remind me his breakdown ain't like mine, because mine, you know, y'all remember that scene in what's that scene in Denzel's movie in Fences?
Fences? Oh, you talking when he was outside in the yard?
Yeah, you know, when she was Viola, she had the snot and everything. That's my breakdown, okay? I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, that's a break. And I'm falling down and everything. And I'm like, that you ain't do nothing like that, but it's all good. All right, number two. So no, before we get to number two, though, so, you know, we talk about emotions and whether or not you allow yourself to show emotions in front of your children.
Now, what about, do you permit your children to express emotions in front of you? Like, how do you deal with your sons or your daughters, more specifically your sons, expressing emotion in front of you? I want y'all to answer that question. Like, what's your response when your son comes to you and crying? When he has a bad day at school and he's crying, or when he falls down and he's crying. Now, let me up the stakes here and say, let's say your son is 7, 8, above 8. What's your response between the age of 8 and 12.
Well, shoot,
how do you respond to that?
Shoot, some people don't even let the little 6-year-olds cry. Like,
how do y'all respond to that? I'm curious to know. And one of the reasons why I want to know is because developmentally, I think that it's appropriate. And I know it's appropriate for them to have the space to vent, for them to have the space to express themselves. But how is some of our stuff showing up in terms of influencing them and how they respond to difficult situations? Like, how much of our stuff are we allowing to get in the way and prevent them from showing emotions? I know in our household, we encourage the expression of emotion, but I will at the same time too say that I still struggle with that thing a little bit. I still struggle with it. Like, you know, why are you doing all of that? Mm-hmm. Why are you doing all that crying? I mean, what are you crying for? Mm-hmm. You know, that's just real talk, you know, and I think that it does come from this whole projection and perception of masculinity. But at the same time, you know, I feel as though there are spaces and times where you do need to tough it out. You don't need to tough it out all the time, but you do need to tough it out and stop whining, stop crying. And
why do you have to stop crying though? Because here's the thing. I agree that there are times when you need to tough it out. You need to, you know, you got to move through this thing. You got to, you know, get your whatever, you know, put your game face on, right? But that doesn't mean you can't cry the whole way through. I mean, again, it's a cultural thing. It's like this whole thing of like crying somehow makes it makes you you're not toughing it out because you were crying. Mm-hmm. And you know, I used to be, y'all, let me say this real quick, and I still am like this. But when I was younger, anytime I would get mad, I would cry. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I know somebody on here know what I'm talking about because I have talked to many people like, yes, I'm the same. If I get really upset and I'm expressing myself and I start crying, I used to get mad that I would start getting teary-eyed and I'd be trying to hold it together because that's how my emotions came out through my tears. But I want people to know I'm mad. I'm not hurt. I'm mad. Really, you are hurt because behind all anger is hurt. But you know, that was the way my stuff came out. And so, you know, say thank you. Okay. Somebody said me. All right, I see you. So yeah, frustration tears, Yvonne. So here's the thing. Why is it that, I mean, really think about that. Stop crying? No, you really should not. There's no reason to stop crying. It's about how it looks and how it comes across in this culture that we live in. So whether you're thinking about your children, yourself, or even your spouse or your partner, we have to really pause and think about the things that we message to each other. Sometimes it's not even the words we say. You understand me? It's not even the words we say. It's the energy we give. Because I've had to work on that again because I can sometimes be just like you know, like, okay, can we stop with all the drama, right? You know, want that to stop.
But we can have responses from women. I want to hear what the guys say.
But here's the thing. My energy says, I don't, you know, do you open up your arms and do you say, come here? Do you give them what they're looking for? Do you say, hey, let me talk to you? Or are you kind of cold and you got your head to the side like, okay, you know, you're kind of rigid and kind of like, all right, are we like, what do you need? You know, and you get kind of irritated, that kind of thing. Again, your energy says more, and your disposition, your demeanor, all of that says more than what your words say. So be mindful of that in terms of this whole, you know, suppression of emotion. And I mean, really, I think where we're arriving, and this Joan is dive deep. I mean, it's kind of basic, but in this society, it's kind of deep. Are we not arriving at a place where we're saying like, it really is, I know it's going to be rough for you, but go with me. It really is okay. You can be toughing it out and you can be pushing through. You can be crying the entire time. Now, you might get on my last nerves, but there is no, why is there judgment of that? I mean, and I guess y'all all giving some good comments. Let's go and see what people say. Why is there judgment of that? There really shouldn't be. We should allow people to be.
It's a lot of women commenting, which is great.
I want to hear, I see Don right here. Oh, okay, Don says, tough it out. Don't cry for everything. But it's okay to cry, and I hug my son so he knows it's okay to let go.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Vivian says, Vivian was talking about my tears when I said I be crying all the time. She said she gets that. Let me see. Oh, wait a minute. I saw something here. Sham said his mother-in-law passed 3 weeks ago on June the 19th. And his wife still hasn't snot cried, and I want us to do it together. You want to do it together. She might be like, let me do my own snot cry. Yeah, but that will probably be me. I mean, it's because you know, we all process grief differently. Daryl says, as a man, I think it depends on what it is you are upset about. But brothers, I want y'all to tell me though, like, why does it? Okay, you know, I'm just like really inquiring. Why does it depend? Why can't you just like? You know, they might cry real hard about one thing. And Daryl, you might cry real hard about something else. You know, I mean, like, but why are we judging that? I mean, we do it, me included. I'm not saying that I'm not a victim of it, but why do we do that? Raquel says that she encourages her grown boys to talk about how they feel. She says, but I must admit, when they were young, I've told them to stop so much crying for something I didn't feel they should be crying for. Same way, girl. I know exactly what you're talking about. But again, I'm just challenging all of us. Again, toxic masculinity, particularly when it comes to boys. I mean, this is something that we can, do with girls, boys, men, women in our own relationships. Sometimes our partners don't feel comfortable to fully let themselves go because we do, as human beings, judge each other based on the society that we live in and what our parents have taught us. So we can have like can you stop? But we can also build up the capacity to know, like, for real, it's really all good. It gets on my nerves or whatever, but it's really all good.
So
and it's healthy. It's healthy.
It is healthy, but I think that I like what Eric said. He said, let him get it out.
Is your name Kirikou? Oh my goodness. Have you seen that cartoon? I love that name. Okay, go ahead.
Eric said, let him get it out, and then try to talk it out with him. I do struggle with him whining, though. And I think that that's important because I always encourage, or at least I say, it's okay to cry. So I say it's okay to cry. But at the same time, too, I think that there should be a limit in terms of, if you're always crying, then that's stepping into the space of like bitch asses.
Oh, that's toxic masculinity.
No,
that's toxic masculinity.
No. Let me finish my thought.
I'm just saying
let me finish my thought. So,
y'all, give me some hearts. Just even putting that label on it. Come on.
If you're whining and
crying, y'all agree with me? But
and not shifting your course of direction, not doing anything to improve upon your situation, then to me, the crying, which initially was okay, is now stepping into a space of whining or bitch assness because you're not willing to do anything to change the predicament that you're currently in. Now we're talking about children, but let's just look at ourselves. I could cry right now, which would be cool, but if I'm not willing to shift, if I'm not willing to make a change, then that's when it becomes problematic. That's when it steps into the territory of bitch assness, when you're not willing to do anything different. And so I think that that's when it becomes problematic. If you just stay stuck in that space, yeah, we can cry. Let's cry it out, but then do something. Do something.
Okay, I'm with
so you can express
that.
the emotions, but if expressing the emotions is all that you do, don't stay stuck there. I don't want to see you crying all day long. I want to see you do something different about the situation. And so as it pertains to our children, yeah, we make room for them to be able to express themselves, for them to be able to cry. But after we've done the crying, after I've given you the hug, don't come to me with the same issue over and over and over again. I've given you the solution. Are you willing to work towards accomplishing or making a shift in your direction?
Okay.
So I see I got some hearts and some thumbs up on that. So what you want to say about that?
Y'all, I got I didn't get a heart. Somebody gave me a laughing.
People saying agree.
Somebody gave me a laughing emoji.
Somebody said shit,
ain't nobody
shit must happen.
Hold up,
amen,
girl.
brother. Man,
what's up, Kirikou? Come on now.
Agreed. Yeah.
929.
Yeah, I mean that's the real talk.
Okay,
right
so no,
now.
I actually is that a heart? Is that one for me or is that Friday's? I don't know. Cause somebody tell me if I got. But hold on. I want to challenge it a little bit. I understand where we're coming from, where you're coming from. And I'm the queen of like, all right, stop playing, start pushing, right? Like we don't have time for you. Now we have figured out what the issue is and what happened when you was little and whatever. What you gonna do now, right? So I'm with you on that. But what I have evolved to understand is that you cannot limit me and I cannot limit you in terms of how long I cry, how deeply I hurt, and how I get that pain out. I can say to you, if you're the whiner, if I perceive that you're in that place, you know what? And we actually use this as a strategy with our kids when they were younger, and even with our 2-year-old now. Like, you crying, and you go, okay, you need to cry. I've said this so many times. You heard me. You can go to your room so you can finish your crying. You can go off so you can finish your crying. You can come back when you're finished. Because I'm not telling them it's not okay to cry.
No,
and I'm not telling them that you have a time limit. You just need to go and do that. And then when you're good, you can come back. Because you tripping right now, right? But I'm just so what you're saying is at least what I'm assuming or perceiving is that there's some type of parameter around that, like only to a point, and then you need to stop. No, like for real,
you can cry while you're moving. You can cry and move. I don't care if you cry.
Feeling, whether it's in our relationships, whatever, based on my past trauma, based on anything that I got going on, I might be on my period, anything. You understand? Like I might need to cry for a long time. Maybe have y'all seen that cry on YouTube? You know that cry from back in the day? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Hold up. I'm not going. I'm just trying to get people to understand what I'm talking about. How does it go?
That man was hurt. So you talk about So now you're making a joke. You're making a joke.
No,
this contributes to toxic masculinity. All right, this is toxic masculinity
do I know I'm crying
from a woman.
I'm trying to help people understand what I'm talking about. Do y'all remember that cry? So what I'm saying is he needed to get, that's the perfect example. He needed to get that thing out. You understand? So all I'm saying is we put limits on stuff because we are unable to handle it. We are unable to, we're unable to handle it, and it makes us uncomfortable. And it's not really about that person. It's really about what it does to us. You know, what it kicks up for us. Look, we done stayed on this joint way too long. I think we have established, like I'm with you on like, can you, like, it's like we need to get it together. But really, for real, y'all, the lesson here is, really, there should be no, like, go over there and cry, go upstairs and, to your children. And for your partner, I'm going to let you have your space. I'm going to let you do what you need to do. But we really need to allow people to be able to tap into their emotion.
Absolutely.
Again, suppression of emotion, which is really, really a big thing with men, is not healthy. And it is a part of toxic masculinity. I think we need to move on.
Yeah, but the suppression of emotion, it ends up being expressed as an explosion. If it's not allowed to be expressed prior to that point. So so that's when the emotion comes out as rage, anger, and all sorts of things. So that
leads to number 2. We need to move it along. What time is it?
There you go again.
There I go. Come on.
Hey, but before we hit number 2, let me just say this.
You forever saying before we
before we get number 2. So when it comes to the whole piece about masculinity, I think that it's important that we understand that toxic masculinity basically suggests that if you look at the 3 categories that men are supposed to be proficient in, providers, I need to provide better than this woman right here. That's toxic masculinity. I need to provide better than everybody on my block. That's toxic masculinity. When we talk about protection, I need to protect everything. I need to protect everything and everybody. That's toxic masculinity too. It's okay for you to have your corner that you're taking care of. You ain't got to take care of it all. You ain't got to protect everything. Toxic masculinity has you believing that you got to be the biggest, the baddest, the best, and better than everything else. That's the problem with toxic masculinity. So when we talk about providing, we talk about protecting, and then we talk about the whole piece about procreating. Toxic masculinity says, I need to
spread my seed.
Yeah, I need to spread my seed. I need to plant this seed every single place I can. If you're not planting the seed, I need to put it in every place that I can fit it in. And again, that's toxic masculinity because it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So I want to make sure that we're understanding that we're spreading the message to our boys that it ain't got to be like that. You ain't got to necessarily provide more than your woman. You do need to provide, but you ain't got to provide more than her.
And women, we contribute to this. Women contribute to this because there are a lot of women who have bought into this whole thing of like, well, how much are you bringing to the table? How much do you have from me? What's your bank account look like? What's your credit score? What's your this? What's your that? What kind of car you have? Do you own your house? Do you rent? All these different things. And I'm not saying that these things do not have their place, but judging and valuing, kind of giving a valuation on a man. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, thanks, Shane.
What?
No, he just gave me a compliment.
Oh, don't it though? I told this brother, woo. So, you talking about his shirt?
I'm talking about the shirt, bro.
I'm talking about his grain. Okay, so anyway, at the end of the day, women, we contribute to that because we are expecting certain things from our men. And a lot of times we are perpetuating, this kind of thing that they have to hold up by saying, what are you going to do for me? You need to take care. You need to. And it's not as though, I'm not saying that men do not have their roles in relationships. I'm not saying that my husband, I don't have certain expectations of him. But what I am saying is that I am always making sure that I'm not committed to this expectation more than I'm committed to him. Wherever he is in any given moment and his ability to kind of meet me where I want him to meet me. And sometimes he kind of slipping, I'm going to be where he is and I'm going to attend to him in terms of what he needs. So we need to pay attention to that. The next one that we taking forever to get to, we got to move through this stuff. Come on, which is yours?
Oh, it's mine?
Yes.
As it pertains to toxic masculinity, y'all, you want to make sure that you're not the process of toxic masculinity encouraging violence.
You struggling? Did I say I'm struggling a little bit?
I think about my point. And so one of the things that toxic masculinity leads a person to do or to be in a space of is I mentioned it a second ago when it could just this explosion. So toxic masculinity is really talking about the fact that when you bottle stuff up inside, then it ends up being something that you got to get out, and you often get it out in such a way that it becomes catastrophic for those people around you. And so it's like these emotions, they're not going to sit there but for so long. How do you get this stuff out? Is it athletically? Is it between you and your spouse in the bedroom? Is it you dominating or expressing aggression towards your children? How do you get this stuff out? And so if you think that the approach that you should have to life is one where you have to dominate, which is oftentimes linked to toxic masculinity, then that's a problem, because you can't control and you can't dominate everything. And so we believe that as men, that's what we're supposed to do. This is our domain. This house is my domain. These are my children. This block is my block. And so I take domain, and I'm supposed to dominate the space that I actually occupy. But again, you're not occupying this space by yourself. And so when you think that you got to do it by yourself, do it on your own, and be the big boss of everything, then you find yourself in a space where you end up entering into mental illness, because what happens is that you think that you got to control and dominate everything. But again, it's not just you. Mm-hmm. And so you internalize feelings when you can't overrule, when you can't dominate, when you can't be in charge. You start to feel a low sense of self. You know that men actually commit suicide more than women?
Yes. Yo, that was,
and a lot of it has to do with the fact that men have been positioned and and lifted up and expected to be in a position where they're controlling and running stuff. And when they don't find themselves in that position, and you feel like you have a low sense of self, you worthless. You ain't a man. You ain't nothing. You're just not.
Mm-hmm. And Arena, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Arena says, and when they can't provide the way society has said they should, or the way toxic masculinity leads them to believe, they tend to do nothing. Many men allow the false sense of masculinity and the fear of failure to cause them to remain stuck. And that's something. Mm-hmm. The fear of failure and having to deal with this toxic masculinity of what I need to kind of measure up to be paralyzes men on some level, is what I hear you saying. Arena, that was deep right there. Yeah. That was deep. That is very good. Very good. So look, y'all, this next one, we are halfway through, and we're going to move right on through these.
And y'all, please feel free to share this video.
Yes, please do. Please do. Look, discouraging seeking help. The discouragement of seeking help. Men think that it is not okay to seek help. Not all men, but toxic masculinity lends itself to this way of being that says, I got this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I handle what I need to handle, how I need to handle it, and I don't need to come outside of myself to get no help. Men are less likely to seek help. My husband just talked about the fact that, men commit suicide at alarming rates. And this internalized pain, rage, hurt, grief, anger, all of these different things that men are walking around with is killing them. Yeah. It's killing them. And you know what? I mean, so tell me, boo, like if you was with some of your boys, and y'all sitting at the table and somebody saying like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm really hurting right now. Do anybody talk like that? I'm hurting right now. I think I need to go get some therapy. I mean, is that something that y'all even say? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, what is this thing around not seeking help? I understand not wanting to ask for help because, that's not a gender specific thing. I don't like asking for help. I've had to work on that over time. Like, you going to keep staying stuck or you going to ask for help, Iana? And sometimes I just stay stuck for a little while longer until I get some humility and some, some courage and ask for help. But for men, what is that about?
But don't just say men. So we as a people have, we as a people have a history of being apprehensive, being hesitant, being reluctant to engage any type of medical model, especially in the Black community. When it comes to mental health, we see the church as our mental health. Mm-hmm. And so, one thing that I will lift up is that when it comes to other communities, and my wife, she can attest to this, but in doing therapy outside of our community, do you know how they perceive therapy?
Oh, can I paint the picture?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, y'all. My husband and I have been doing therapy for some time. I've been, doing this for almost 20 years now. And I've been with my folks, and I've been not with my folks, right? When I say not with, like I've been in other communities, white folks. And let me tell you something. It's like, everybody has a therapist. Everybody has therapists, and I'm not saying it's all the same. I'm not trying to make stereotypes, but I'm saying when I have been in a practice where I'm working with white women, white men, this is what they do. Like, oh yeah, my friends and I were talking, and we were talking about, my therapist said, and my therapist said, and it's almost like a status symbol. You know what I'm saying? Like,
y'all hear that? Almost like a status symbol to have a therapist.
Yeah, like, because what we were processing was da 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 da, and so. And I found that to be so fascinating, because this is what I heard over and over and over again, that there was this okayness, like, oh my gosh, because life is so hard and so stressful, and you need to have your therapist, like my time for me every week. And this was repeated over and over again by white men, by white women at equal rates. And yet when I'm with my sisters and brothers, and when I'm in my community, there are many of us, I want to say, who are kind of over that and like beyond any kind of, feeling some type of way about it. We're like, look, I'm gonna get mine because I need to, I need some place to process some stuff. But there are many of us also who still struggle and think that it means that something's wrong with us.
Yeah.
Versus, there's a problem that I have that I need to fix. It's like there's something wrong with me, and so,
Thank you, Shan,
for men, and for women, but tonight, again, we're talking about men. We got to really struggle with, and we got to wrestle with, pushing off the inclination to push away help and getting professional help, sitting down with somebody else. And I do think it's important for you to get culturally competent professional help. You know what I'm saying? But and that means somebody who resonates with you in some way, on some level. It's not always about race. Sometimes it is, oftentimes it is, but it's not always about race.
So you asked the question, are men coming together expressing their thoughts and feelings and emotions and stuff like that? So it depends on what group you're with. It depends on what men you're associating with. But what I will say is that oftentimes what men do is they'll express it, but it has to get to a breaking point before it's expressed. And so you don't necessarily experience the process of the build-up with men. I think that with women, there's a walking with you or walking with me through this process of arriving to a point where I'm about to break down. With men, you arrive, you basically are having a conversation that I'm broken and I'm hurt and I need help. I had a guy say to me at one point, like, can you please help me? Can you please help me? And I had been in association with this guy for some time, but there was never any indication that he was struggling. I'm conversing with him back and forth and I'm engaging him, but there's never any indication that he's struggling until it comes to a breaking point where he can't carry the weight anymore. And so for men, again, I think that many of us, we walk around with stuff that we want to get off of our chests. And I think that society and toxic masculinity says that we can't continue to express that stuff as we're going through our process. We have to actually get to a point where we can't carry the load anymore before we can express it and ask for help. And so, but women are different in the sense that y'all express that thing throughout your process.
And all women are different, but we tend to process things more. I've been on my spirit to have a sister circle up in here for a minute. Anyway, didn't I tell you that the other day? Like, I feel like I need to have a sister circle because we just need to come together and talk. So we process differently as men and women, but that is a trait and a quality of toxic masculinity when you feel like you are bound and you cannot. It is not allowed. It is not okay to seek help. All right, y'all. The next one here is the perpetuation of rape culture. Now, I don't want to stay stuck here too long because this type of thing, this area right here be getting me mad. Okay, I be getting mad, right?
Can I just say this real quick? You might not be aware of this.
What?
But somebody who we actually applauded, and Sham just said, he loves therapy. So I salute you for saying that, Sham.
That's good.
But somebody that we applauded, we were listening to his videos on the Breakfast Club. Charlemagne the God, he says I go to therapy like every Friday at like 3:00. But now we're getting to this point right here, the perpetuation of rape culture. I was watching a YouTube video earlier today, and it's this sister that's claiming, actually it's a court case that took place some time ago where he supposedly raped this woman.
Charlemagne?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was 22 and she was 15.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm like, wow. So when you speak about when we talk about the perpetuation of rape culture, I think that it gets back into like what men believe is our place and our role as it pertains to women, how we should engage women, how we're supposed to dominate women, how we're supposed to make sure women are submissive, how we're supposed to see it, want it, and then take it whenever we want to.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't trying to go on y'all cues out there, but I always felt the cues, that fraternity. You know, when I was in college, and
you're about to get some backlash.
I might be about to get some backlash. Go on and give it to me, but it's true. You know, when I was in college and even as an adult, just, you know, that whole, y'all know, I ain't got to say now. All I got to say is the cues. You know what I'm saying? But that rape culture, and using the word rape culture.
Rape culture?
We're talking about rape culture. We're talking about
you're not saying the cues and rape culture. You're not linking rape, you're not linking rape culture to the cues.
So let me be clear. So what we're talking about is the fact that toxic masculinity is comprised of these points that we're making. One of them is about rape culture and how we perpetuate rape culture. Rape culture is perpetuated by things like catcalling, like seeing women on the street and being like, oh, what's up? Ooh, you know, with all that kind of stuff. Many of the behaviors that I experienced, that I saw, and I'm not trying to make the cues like put them on or whatever, but I saw that particularly and specifically, you know, with that fraternity, yeah, that would be a perpetuation of rape culture, because it's anything that objectifies women, that puts women, you know, in a place of you know, really kind of objectifying their bodies in a subservient place or whatever. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not saying if you accuse, that's what you about. And I ain't saying that's what you doing, right?
Women perpetuate
rape
culture?
Women, I'm sure anybody can do it. Let me say this. Anything that we're talking about that is a theme, 9 times out of 10, we all participate in some way. We all participate in some way. Even those of us who are, you know, really trying to push back and say, hey, we got to stop this in some ways, because it is a part of the culture. It's a part of the fabric of the culture. And so we all can kind of buy into certain things like, oh yeah, like I'm not for that. But then over here in this other area, you may do something or participate or believe something that is not really supportive of the stance that you say you're taking. So in some way that can happen. But one thing that gets on my last nerve is when people, you try to make a point, they say, well, do y'all do it too? That's what you just did. Okay, because, you know, we ain't talking about do women do it. We're talking about rape culture, and you're going to turn around and talk about something, but do women do it too?
Why y'all be wearing that?
What is that called? What is that called?
Why it's got to be so short? Why it's got to be so tight?
Social worker. What's that called, though? What's that called? It's called blaming the
victim.
Blaming the victim. You understand? And I don't like that. It's like we be calling men out, and the women be like, you know, or the men be like, well, what about women? We call the women out. Well, what about men? We talking about you today. And right now we're talking about rape culture. And so we have to understand that many of the things, this whole Me Too movement, all that kind of stuff, many of the things that people have taken for granted have not, you know, really, they didn't think it was a big deal. I've seen some stories out here since the Me Too joint, and I'm like, dang, like I never thought about that. Is that it? You know what I'm saying? I hadn't thought about it. I'm a woman, but I was like, oh, you know, I probably been around and maybe chuckle when I heard somebody say something like that. I can't even remember what it is, but I know I've had an experience where I'm getting enlightened. We all can be enlightened, but we have to pay attention to the fact that when we you know, lift up things that really support this whole dominance over women, like you said, just take it, own it, grab it, it's mine, whatever, and this really a significant machismo kind of image, that is toxic masculinity. That's not all men. How many men on here like, yeah, that's me? I'm like, no.
So I really want to ask a question, and I want the ladies to chime in.
What you about to say? Well, because you had a certain look on your face, but go ahead.
Yeah, you know, let's have some real talk for a second.
Well, I thought we was having real talk.
Let's go a little bit deeper.
Okay.
So when we talk about dominance, some women like to be dominated in the bedroom, and that's the truth. They might not want to be dominated all the time, but some women like to be dominated in the bedroom. And so how do you, when it comes to, is that toxic masculinity for you to take control, for you to assert your authority, for you to dominate?
Just trying to bring up an interesting point.
No. I mean, again, because I spoke earlier about the erasure. I feel like the term toxic masculinity might be leading to the erasure of masculinity as a whole, but that's part of toxic masculinity.
But that's what you feel. You know better, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I feel. But a part of toxic masculinity.
But you know better, though.
Yeah. Oh, okay. A part of toxic masculinity is dominance, and so again, some women like dominance in the bedroom.
Okay.
And if you like the dominance, but yet you're telling me to tame down my masculinity because the perception is that it's toxic.
Oh, fine 29. That's good.
I mean, how are we expected to navigate and negotiate?
I like that.
How do we engage that? So Fine 29 said dominance, not control.
Mm-hmm.
Some women want to be controlled too. manipulated, moved.
But that's fine. But if I say I want that in the
permission.
act, I'm giving permission. I'm saying we doing this, right? That's different than what we're talking about. And you already knew that. Did you not?
Stephanie said, I hear that point, brother.
You know, Stephanie said, I really despise control. Yeah, because at the last thing that I need anybody to think ever is that you can control me. No. That's not what's up. And that is a part of toxic masculinity, this whole piece around control. And let me just be clear, because I see the little smile on your face. And I mean, I said this to you before. I love you to pieces. I do. But any control you think you have, it is a strategic control that you are allowed to think you have. Because I consent to it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? I consent to it. Do you understand? So just because we're not, and you know, this actually is bringing out an interesting piece. This does not mean that you may not have this dynamic present in your relationship, where there are some pieces here, you know, where there is submission and dominance and all that kind of stuff. But my husband and I have absolute trust, and we have a certain way that we engage that, and there is permission and there is consent. And there's absolutely no toxic masculinity going on in our relationship.
I like what Don said. Don said, okay, you need permission to dominate. Please explain.
You need permission to be dominant. Why don't you go and explain that? You need to,
I want you to explain that.
You don't understand? I don't understand that if you're going to be with someone else.
So the question is
that you need permission.
How can you be dominant and need permission to be dominant? That's not being dominant.
Why not?
Because you need to get permission to be dominant.
And
to be dominant is to
let's look up the word. You know what? Let's look up the word dominant right now. Okay, y'all hear what he's saying? Don said, "How does that work?" Okay, you know what? Let's look that up right now, and then we're gonna wrap it up for the night because I'm getting sleepy.
I like what Sham, he gave me a warning. He said, you can't control a lioness. Leo women, like you said, the common move. I think he said, like, watch out, bro.
No, I want us to look at this. I see that you're kind of saying it's kind of all right. What the heck kind of definition is this? All right. Well, I love it. When I look up dominant, y'all, dominant, the definition is most important, powerful, or influential. That you can be powerful. Let me tell you something that I know. I know that I am powerful, and I know that I'm influential. But I'm getting permission all day, every day. I'm doing that with my staff. I'm doing that with people who I respect. I'm doing that with people who get on my nerves. I'm doing that with my kids. I'm doing that with you. I'm getting permission, and I'm influencing, and I am exerting my power all the time in my relationships. Go with me here. Dominance is not about taking over something. What this definition says is about being influential. And you can be influential and get permission to be influential. We talk about this all the time within the context of an intimate relationship or any relationship where you are in, you know, and you want to communicate effectively. You say, can I give you, can I have permission to give you some feedback?
Yeah.
Right. Instead of just going and like, and the person ain't going to receive, can I get permission to give you some feedback? I've used that so many times. Right. And in that place and in that moment, in that time, I am being influential and I am exerting my power. Perhaps you might even say I'm being dominant because I'm directing the flow of what I want to happen. I need to tell you some things and I'm going to go ahead and make this thing known. But instead of setting myself up for pushback, I'm going to go ahead and ask for permission and consent. And this point right here absolutely brings forward this whole piece around toxic masculinity, because men and people in general get it mixed up and get it twisted and think that to be dominant or you know to be a man means that it's about taking, it's about dominating, and dominating means that I don't get permission, right? I destroy, I exploit, I erase, I show who I am. And what we want you to understand today, and we want everybody to understand, is that you can be powerful and get permission. That you can be dominant and you can even submit in the midst of your dominance. All of that can take place. And there's so many things that we don't even realize that we participate in when it comes to this whole thing around toxic masculinity and sexism and patriarchy and all of that stuff. And, we all do, myself included. We don't even realize that we participate in. Why the hell are you having a problem?
Because as you're talking, I'm thinking about
let me ask you this. What?
I'm thinking about the bedroom.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead. Okay. I thought I was making a good point right there.
You are making a good point.
Okay, but Raquel said the bedroom should be about pleasure, not control.
Yeah.
Don says, how does that work? That's being submissive. Okay, Don, I'm trying to feel what you're coming from. Darlene, I see you, my sister. Look, Sham said, thank you, Sham. It's just like an S&M. When people have a safe word that is a permission-based activity. Okay, a safe word that is right because you're setting up parameters, right? So just because we go to this place of submission and control and all that, there's still parameters. I still have control of myself. You understand? Like you keep going to the bedroom, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is this hard for you to understand? Because it ain't like me and you done been in a situation where I just do what I want and I just it's not. Yes, we have a dominance kind of a thing, but that's because that's consensual.
So this is where, I'm kind of having a challenge here. And
and we got one more, we're gonna let y'all go.
It's really revolving around the fact that, especially when it comes to intimacy or specifically in the bedroom, there's exploration that needs to take place. And so when you're exploring your partner, when you're getting to know your partner, when you're trying to see what works and what doesn't work, you're taking risk. And so if you're taking risk, and a part of taking a risk is you wanting to assume a more domineering posture in the bedroom, you got to do it first in order to know whether or not it works or doesn't work. And so in addition to doing it, get consent. Yeah, in addition, but what I'm saying is that you're doing it prior to getting consent.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah, for real. So yes, you are. We've worked with a number of women, not all the time, but we work with a number of women who have said to us, I want him to do this, but they're not necessarily verbalizing that up front. They want him to take the chance, take the risk to explore, and they're not expressing that prior to him doing it.
So somebody said, I don't know what S&M is. S&M is, I just always say S&M, so I don't even know how to pronounce the words. It says sadism, and masochism.
Yeah, it's the whips, it's putting the handcuffs and
that's messed up. I don't know how to pronounce the word.
All of that type of stuff going on.
But it's the practice of using pain as a sexual stimulant.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the practice of using pain as a sexual stimulant. So what my husband is saying is like, well, in S&M and stuff like that, like you just gotta do it. But I don't understand.
Not just that though. So even if you don't go there, that's a little bit more extreme. What I'm saying is that, so let's say for instance that you want to do anal. All right, that's an area that you want to approach, and you're in the act and you're trying to take some control and you're trying to be dominant. You may attempt to do some things, and some women want you to try. They want you to come outside of your comfort zone. They want you to stretch them.
Okay.
They want you to try. They want you to take a risk. They don't want you to always ask for permission prior to doing something.
So asking for permission can happen in so many different ways. It's not like, pause. Can I have permission to do anal with you? I mean, that in the middle of like, what I'm saying?
That's like so unsexy.
But sweetheart, you already know there's multiple ways to get permission. When you're in tune with your partner, you don't ever have to even ask the question verbally.
You'll find out real quick if you can do that. You'll find out real quick.
What you doing? Right? No, but what I'm saying is that, it's about being in tune with the other person. There's different ways for you to be able to get a sense of whether or not the permission is given. But you still have to get permission. You're saying that as if like there's some things you're just not going to get permission on, and that's not true. You're like, what are you talking about?
What I'm saying is that like you have to attempt to dominate
but you do that based on. So if you're anything, let's take the anal out, okay? We're talking about anything, based on the energy and the feedback that you're getting from the person, based on the verbal and the non-verbal stuff that you're getting from them, right? Like when you are with somebody, you are going based off of their energy, all of that. So you're paying attention to all of those things. You don't necessarily have to verbally ask, but you are paying attention to the signs that somebody is giving you, and you're paying attention to, kind of, foreplay if they're receptive or if they're not. So there is this illusion that you are presenting that in order for this to happen, this dominance or what have you, there is a point where I just have to take over and take control without your consent is an illusion. Yes, you do have to take risks, but you do them in a calculated way. You do them in an in-tune way. You make sure that you pay attention to your partner. That's how people end up in situations where they thought, like, the girl, she was with me, we was doing it, we was whatever, and then now you locked up, you in court because she was with you up until a certain point, and you were not attuned, and you weren't paying attention. And the brother said, the man said, well, she had all her clothes off and she was with it. She can't tap out now. Yes, she can tap out at any point in time. And when we don't pay attention to the partner that we're with and the places of permission, the places where we continue to get nods to go forward, then we find ourselves.
So I agree with you 1,000%. So I mean, that was the second part of my point.
But there's a part of you that's really sexist. Right. There's a small part of you. And so I think, it's struggling to survive right now in this conversation. Well, you do have to just take over because you like that.
I do.
A small part, but
not completely though.
Not completely.
There's room for both. So I do like to take over. But at the same time, too, I recognize that there's a sensitivity that needs to be utilized when you're taking over, because you do have to pay attention to your woman's mood, emotions, expressions, experience, and that type of thing. So I'm not the type of person that's not in tune
and in
sync the moment. And so I would advocate that highly. However, in conjunction with advocating that, I think that it's important to know that you have to take risk. You have to try some things. You have to exude or exert some element of control. And one thing Eric says that when you ask for permission, Eric over here on YouTube, he says that when you ask for permission, does that mean the woman now has control?
Why is that even a question?
I mean, because it's
y'all just want to stay in control.
No, but we just know, like, y'all be like fickle sometimes. So 1 minute,
Okay, well, you need to
take 1 minute, take me.
Come on and then back up. Back up.
But if we stick to the bedroom really quickly, y'all. What I want to say is, I just want to say this. So we talked about the whole dominance piece.
Oh my God, it's 10:23.
One other area that I want to lift up is that, fellas. So we got a bunch of men who are watching this right now. How does toxic masculinity prevent you from fully expressing yourself?
Oh, let's get to this. Yeah.
In the bedroom.
Like, do you go like this?
Really, Joe?
That was. I mean, for real.
Yeah. Do the guys do that?
So you see how he responded to that? So no, like, this is serious because he's like, what? Right? But that's the point. Like, totally letting go, and totally, like, you can't even take the smile off your face. Right? And some part of that is toxic masculinity that you're like, I'm a cop to that right now. You're like, what the hell? I ain't doing that. Right.
Eric said, I hope not.
I'm just saying, and I'm not gonna smile. I'm gonna keep it serious. Because I want to
what woman wants that?
I want you to do that. See, but now you're perpetuating some of this stuff.
I am so sorry, fellas. I am so sorry because, again, I'm not helping.
No, you're not.
I'm actually contributing to the perception of toxic masculinity by laughing right now.
Because what is that?
But it's funny though. But I'm being real. It's funny. And Nika said yes.
That's right. I want him to do it. I want you to do it, Ayuza. Okay, for real.
Oh my goodness.
So the question though is really about. It's not about how high pitched you're. It's not about how pitched it is, right? But the question is really getting at this whole point of allowing yourself to really exhale, to really be vulnerable. Sex is one of the places you can be really vulnerable. And, if we, again, think about stereotypes, we think about cultural norms, right? Like, women do that, and the man is like, right? And when we just grunt. You grunt, and, you know what I'm saying? And when we see the sex scenes on TV and all of that, like, you like that. Like, yeah, look at him. He's just, like, those are the things that we've been conditioned to think are sexy, attractive. And for most of us, they probably are sexy and attractive because you haven't been exposed to anything differently. But yes, like my sister Vivian said, give in to those feelings, men. But Fine 29, how you going to say not in that octave? How you ain't gonna say that. I'm not gonna high five that. I'm not gonna high five you on that because I want some men to explore some range. I want you to explore some range. But again, it's really about allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Boo, for real, I want y'all to get this. It's about being vulnerable. Because I don't know how many men really, I said this to you at different times that, in our relationship, like, dang, like sometimes I get like a little glimpse of like, dang, my husband, we're very close. He's my best friend. But I've gotten glimpses of the fact that, dad, like there's this part of you that you do not share with me. There's feelings. Obviously there's feelings you don't share with me, but that there's like some significant stuff that you just kind of keep in.
Significant stuff?
Yes, I've talked to you about this in the past. And that, part of that is, based on, what I'm saying, I guess, what you think is okay and not okay. So your personality.
Nah, you're getting it twisted now.
No, I'm not getting it twisted.
It's not what I think is okay and not okay. It's just, I'm not
saying it's conscious.
And I don't even know what you're talking about, but I might not think that it's necessary to share. But again, that comes from a space of toxic masculinity.
And not
everything that I feel doesn't need to be expressed.
What I'm saying is that what I recognize as close as me and my husband are, and as much as he does share with me, and as much as we do connect and all of that, there is a
vulnerability for men looks different than women. Like you gotta be careful with that. Like it's not.
And he said you have actually, I've shared this with you, and you have said to me, like, you know what I'm talking about. Like I realize like you're not as vulnerable with me as I am with you. What you saying about that? Don't jump to no, I don't agree, because we was in Masculinity. We had this conversation. I mean, there's things that I learned and I'm like, oh, and so the screen is frozen. Oh, is the screen still frozen, y'all? Marva, is the screen still frozen? Vivian, you with me? I'm glad about that. Okay. Hold up. 529 gonna say if he hit that pitch, I'm out. Girl, you know what? I'm gonna come talk to you later. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's about vulnerability. It's not about the pitch. It's not about all of that. It's about being vulnerable. And for so many men, they do not allow themselves to go to that place. Have you cried during sex? Have you allowed yourself to really let out not just your voice, but your feelings? Have you, what have you really, really done to let yourself just be free? And that's what we need to do. I gotta say this one, y'all.
No, Snub 668. She says on YouTube, women want men to act feminine, and after they get them to act feminine, they say they are too feminine or they're too nice. Huh? Women need to make up their mind.
Say what now? Say it again.
Say women want men to act feminine.
No.
And after they get them to act feminine, they say that they are too feminine or that they're too nice. Women need to make their minds up.
Well, I don't know about what women you're talking about. I don't want my husband to act feminine.
That was a feminine thing that you just did.
What?
I'm not going to even do it. I was about to do it. You was about to trap me right there, but I'm not going to even do it.
What the?
Yeah.
Again, toxic masculinity. I'm going to need you to be a teacher tonight, and I need you to not be in the audience. Okay? So at the end of the day, what we're talking about is the fact that there are certain parameters, there are certain verbal and nonverbal, official and unofficial ways that we know it's okay to be, right, in society, in our community, in the Black community, right, particularly when it comes to what it means to be a man. And what we're saying is that we need to bust through that stuff and recognize and realize how it is that we support and perpetuate those kinds of things. The last thing that we wanted to say tonight is homophobia. Some of this is going to challenge some of y'all. And it is what it is, because in our community, in the Black community, we are the most religious community there is, not the most spiritual all the time. Religious, I think it's both, but religion and spirituality are two different things. And homophobia, particularly when it comes to Black men, is a significant and serious issue. It's a serious issue. And I don't know, I don't know of anybody out there. I mean, everybody, if you don't know, it's just because somebody ain't told you. Everybody somewhere, somehow is connected to a person who is a homosexual, who is gay, who is a same gender loving person in their family, or, and it's not just blood family, right? And so men, especially when y'all get around each other, you know, just perpetuate this whole, you know, homophobic, you know, machismo, and then y'all get y'all stuff kicked up, you know, when you see other men or boys and they seem, you know, according to what you think is feminine or what have you. And here's what I want to challenge, and you can come for me all you want, but here's what I want to challenge, and then I'll let you speak on it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not about beliefs, and this is not about, you know, what you feel is right or wrong. This is about condemning and vilifying and victimizing and being a part of any culture that oppresses another group of people based on their choices, based on who they are. Be careful, because when I say choices, I do not believe, I'm just gonna let y'all know where I'm at. I do not believe that people choose to be gay. I do believe that people are born gay. Of course, there are folks out there who are choosing, but I'm not about to go around asking, did you choose it, or did you feel that way when you was 3? That's not my priority, and it's frankly not my prerogative. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to discern that, because some of y'all get on that tip. But at the end of the day, homophobia, you know, is really killing our community. And what we have to learn how to practice is acceptance, not tolerance, but acceptance of people's right to be. You don't have to agree. You don't have to understand. You just have to learn how to be a decent human being and allow people to be. And I want to challenge men, especially Black men, to kind of be different, because I know it's hard. I don't know how hard it is because I'm not a man, but to be in the midst of other men and to be different, to not just go along with the same old, don't talk the same talk. I know the talk y'all talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm Black, I'm a woman. You know what I'm saying? I got family, I got folks, I got people in my family who are gay. My sister's gay. I got, you know, and I got people in my family kind of like, you know, I mean, who doesn't? But I want to challenge men to show up differently, because if you show up differently, if you speak differently, if you challenge differently, women, we're known to be nurturers. We're going to accept you. We're going to love you. Right. Right. And even for those who say, you know, I don't agree, but I accept, right? All that kind of stuff. Women are going to be in that lane. But for men, it can get into this place of toxic masculinity, because now you define for your brother, for your son, for your cousin, for your a friend who you don't even understand and know is struggling. You define for them what is okay and what is not okay, and you are killing your brother. You are literally strangling them. And this is why men kill themselves, because they need other men to validate the fact that they have the right to be, and they have a right to be who they are, period. I mean, it just is what it is. And I don't understand. I say this all the time, and I don't never get a lot of applause when I say this stuff. I don't understand how Black people who have been the victims of racism and who have been oppressed find it okay to oppress anybody else in any other community, whether it be about race, whether it be about sexual orientation, gender identity, or any of that. So that's a significant one. I know it's crickets right now out there. But what I want to say is that is a part of toxic masculinity, when you pair that piece up around, you know, what a man is. And, you know, and all these other, I'm not even going to go through all the terms and all the different things that people use for men. And y'all, these have been in our families. These are boys in your family. I know, all of y'all know what I'm talking about. This ain't outside of you. This is these are our people who we do this to. And so we got to rise up and not perpetuate toxic masculinity. Now, you may not have nothing to say. I don't know. What you got to say?
You know, I want to echo your sentiments.
Dang, it's 10:35.
And say you're absolutely right. You know, when it comes to toxic masculinity, and the impact that it has on same gender loving men, could be catastrophic, damaging. And there's evidence to show that men who are in that space, that, you know, toxic masculinity has contributed to a lot of mental health issues and suicide rates increasing, et cetera, et cetera. So you're absolutely right. I think that what I would also say too is that additional exploration needs to occur. I think that a lot of us are walking around wounded, hurt, and we all just got a lot of work to do. And so, yes, if we're judging people and operating from a space of condemning people for their sexual preferences, or even for their,
y'all got real quiet. Oh, y'all coming? Some
even
of y'all
for
coming.
their, how they identify biologically, just based off of how they felt since they were 3. I get that. At the same time, I also think that based off of our trauma histories.
Okay, see? All right.
I think that both need to be said. I mean,
that's
so,
not, but that's
so
okay.
I can validate and affirm.
So I'm just
going to confirm.
So we're gonna represent 2 sides of the Black community. So what I'm saying, we're talking about with respect. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, this is about toxic masculinity that we're talking about right now. We're talking about not whether you understand, agree, what have you. We're talking about not perpetuating certain cultural norms that dismiss and wipe away other people and make them feel like they do not have the right to be, especially in our community, with us, the Black family, with us, right? And so that's what we're talking about. And toxic masculinity says, in order to be a man, you have to look like this, dress like this, be like this, do like this, talk like this, pimp like this. You understand? And what I'm saying is that we got to stop that. And so I hear what you're saying, because when my husband is bringing in, but what you're bringing in is this whole piece around, because I just spoke to that. I believe, because my husband has said this, and you can, if I'm misrepresenting you can tell me. I believe that there are people who are authentically gay and have that experience, and there's a lot of research out there around that. And I also believe that there are people who've experienced a lot of trauma and a lot of different things in their history, because you're a therapist and you've seen a lot of this stuff, and I have as well. And that there's a lot more packed into that. In terms of the choices that they're making now. And there's 2, but what I'm saying is that the fact that you even bring that forward, that ain't even the point. And that we do that a lot. That's not what this is about. So, respect your question, in terms of where did we learn this from as a community? But at the end of the day, what we're talking about right now is not perpetuating wherever category you think people fall in, not perpetuating this whole image of, in order to be a man, you have to be like this. That's a separate issue. And what people do, and I can only talk mostly about Black folks, because that's the folks I'm talking to a lot of times in my community about this issue, is we bring that forward, and that's not a legitimate thing to bring forward right now. Because even in doing that, in some way, like I'm telling you, like, it's okay, but it's not okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, but there's people who are authentic and people who are not. That ain't even the point. We're talking about toxic masculinity, and we do that as Black people. And I'm gonna take a risk and say, can I just be completely honest? I think that men do that, and maybe women too, just to make sure man. I'm gonna comment on it, but I'm gonna make sure I bring that point in, because I'm gonna help you to understand that I ain't gonna co-sign the whole way. I'm with it, but also it's this other side. That ain't even the point right now. And I'm just gonna be real. That's not even the point. We're talking about how to.
What you're saying is clever.
I'm not trying to be clever. I'm just being truthful in terms of my perspective.
And that's not the angle that I'm approaching it from. Where I'm trying to basically affirm my manhood.
I think lots of men fall in that category. Like, it can't even say something positive or affirming about stopping this culture of demeaning and negating and dismissing and demoralizing gay men, and just stand on that alone. They gotta bring in this other piece, and that ain't. And I'm saying right now, that ain't we talk. Well, that's not what we even talking about. We ain't talking about the nature, the origin, whatever. We just talking about toxic masculinity.
I only lifted that up because you brought that up in terms of what your belief is. And my whole thing is that, we need to honor all men.
Mm-hmm.
All men need to be honored. All men need to be respected, and all people, period, just need to be respected. And we can't be superimposing our beliefs about what masculinity is, and especially if it approaches the degree of toxicity that we see in society nowadays. Like, we can't be superimposing that upon people. So I agree with that 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, too, I think that it's important to emphasize that, while you can't superimpose toxicity superimpose toxic masculinity on people, I think that what you need to do is respect the fact that masculinity has its place.
Absolutely.
And so by no means do we need to be making people who are same gender loving people, men, feel bad. No,
or like they're not a man.
Or like that, yeah, like they're not a man. However,
it happens,
it happens, and it's something that we need to work on, because they are men. They are men, and a lot of them would whoop your ass really quickly. And so they are, they are men. So we need to respect that, and not try to demean, degrade, or marginalize them.
Ooh.
Well,
so when we get off this video, my husband might be coming for me tonight, but he just said they are men. I love you. And a lot of them will whip your ass. And you said that in an effort to do what? To affirm that they are men, because you associated their being men with aggression. For the first time tonight. Well, oh.
So you're trying to say I'm trying to find a way to make them a man? That's what you're saying? Like I need to make them a man, and I need to use aggression.
But we just talked about violence and all of that.
I see you giving the hearts on that one.
Rage. I'm just saying, like, I mean, we all participate. I'm not trying to go on you. I'm just saying, like, oh, you tried to affirm them, and in affirming them, you said, but they are a man, and you used the measure was, you know what I'm saying, they'll whip your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, because and they are a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, as if that makes them a man. And it's just kind of, it's kind of the point that we're making. You just kind of like that's not what we want to do, is have these artificial kinds of toxic ways of thinking coming in and ruling the way that we see ourselves and the way that we see our men. And I just want to be real. I'm not trying to go.
This is a rough one. Like I'm gonna have to meditate on this, because again, I feel like even in your critique of the statement that I just now made, it's kind of like stripping me of what it means to be a man. Like so if aggression is a part of it, if you being able to handle your business and defend yourself, protect yourself, and exert some sense of force. Then if I can't say that that's what men do, then what can men do? What do we as men do? I don't know what we do, because whatever we do, it seems to be toxic. I don't know. What do we do?
Well, Brock, man, you need to define that thing.
I'm confused now. Like I just feel like, I'm not, which is the reason why this topic right here is a bit problematic for me, because it's almost as like it's an attack on masculinity. We have to define masculinity, and if masculinity is okay, then if the aggression, the dominance is something that women want, women like, men want, then I mean, to strip that away, I mean, then what are we?
So it's not stripping it away. So I'm
not going to take your femininity away from you. I like what I see. I like all of this right here.
Okay.
I like it. I love it, and it's. So I don't want that to disappear. I'm not trying to be married to Michael Phelps or LeBron James or something like that. I don't want no must. That's not what I want.
So
I need that to be present. I need the sensitivity, the softness, the warmth, the nurture. I need that. That's what makes you feminine. I'm not going to strip that away from you. I'm going to say, if you do that, I love that.
So again, what we're talking about tonight, I'm getting ready to end right now. You know what I'm saying? Is we're not talking about masculinity. We're talking about toxic masculinity.
But everything is toxic now.
So no. So I agree with you that a man is different from a woman, and a woman is different from a man, and that you appreciate the things that a woman can give, and I appreciate the things that you can give. It doesn't mean that, the things that we do differently and uniquely should just be kind of like, everything's all the same. I can't stand when I hear that. It's kind of like when you hear people say, like, I don't see race. I don't see no race. We're just all the human race. And I'd be like, shut the hell up.
So we're moving towards gender neutrality. It's like gender neutral.
It's not. Like there is race. There are differences, and it makes us all that much more rich and beautiful and what have you, right? So I get you on that. All I'm saying is, in that moment when you said, yes, we got to work on that. And to be completely fair, you were trying to like affirm like a gay brother. He is a man.
I'm just not gonna talk about it.
And he said he's trying, what I'm saying? He'll whip your ass. But you what men do oftentimes though is use those things like aggression and violence and that kind of thing to affirm and validate and qualify men. And what we're really trying to bring forward tonight is that the qualifier should not be based on whether or not you are, how aggressive you are, how violent you can be, that kind of thing. I know you weren't really trying to go down that road. It's just an unconscious thing. We all deal with it. And it's not that the ways that men show up. Men have testosterone, and you have more testosterone than women have. So, and testosterone is associated with more aggression, right? So we know that you do kind of, sit in that place more naturally than we do. And there is appreciation for that. And there is a role for that. And I'm not trying to diminish or
I feel
say
like that's what's happening.
But that's not what it is about, is understanding and respecting that, but then allowing there to be a balance. It's like India Arie's song.
I'm about to go get some estrogen shots.
Come back to the middle. Come back to the middle, right? It's not about being in this toxic place where we completely and totally run to the things that come natural to us, and we just completely reject the whole of who we are. And so in order to do that, in order to really embrace the whole of who we are, we got to be able to call out these things that keep us bound and keep our minds locked up about how we are able to be in the world. And toxic masculinity is one of those things. It just is what it is. You're getting frustrated and stuff, and I'm just saying, like, it's not you. You were not. Why are you frustrated? What is the problem?
I'm about to go for my second workout of the day to get some of this aggression out.
Shut the hell up! All right, y'all.
I really am.
You were on point. You were on point, but it was. I had to pull that out. That was good.
And I see some guys out there saying, like, I don't know what to say either. Like, we just like.
Yeah, don't take the victim. No, don't take the victim role. Or the victim role, like, oh, I'm just not right. I'm not. It's really about making sure that we all challenge each other to continue to push towards the best of who we are and the best of what we have to give, to really expand our concept and our understanding of who we think we are for ourselves individually and in our relationships. And if you're going to do that, then you got to be willing to see some things like you never saw them before. And you got to be willing to hear some things you ain't never heard before. And you got to be willing to be rubbed the wrong way. And if you're willing to do that, then you know that you are able, the capacity for true growth. And so tonight, we hope that this has been a rich conversation for all of you. It has been really good for me. I have really, really appreciated all of your comments.
Share, drop a line and let us know what y'all have gotten from tonight. Yeah. We're gonna stay on for just.
We talked about testosterone, Vivian.
We're gonna leave it running, but I'm curious to know what did y'all get out of tonight. So just drop a line saying what y'all learned tonight, and whether it be from us or from the comments. Just from the interaction between my wife and I, what have y'all gotten from?
Yeah, and some, a lot of brothers are saying, Don said everything about a man is toxic. because everybody else. Now, how you gonna be a teacher for like 95% of the night, and then because that one thing you don't turn like, yeah, everything is toxic.
I'm feeling some.
Which way is which side? Where are you at? You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got any feelings.
We just toxic.
But Don said everybody else wants us to be feminine. Vivian says aggression is about protection of our families.
I'm confused.
And livelihood. Darlene says those who are called gay are considered two-spirited persons in the Native American community. Good insight. Yes, Darlene, that's right. Fine 29 says strength, physical, mental, and emotional. That's how they tend to characterize masculinity. Don is on this joint tonight. He said, life is violent. Life is violent. And masculine men stand firm in the challenge, I think. I'm confused about this whole thing. All right. I think this is a great, Daryl says it's a great show. Daryl, I'm glad you like the show. Kamani, our cousin, is watching. Raquel says, as a woman, I need to feel secure and knowing that a man is going to protect me if necessary. I need him to be emotional, though, enough to express himself to me.
And Eric over here, he says more balance is needed, more with my lady. When I get home, I can be more open and vulnerable with her and the kids.
Yeah. So, I hope it's challenged my thinking in some ways this evening. I hope it's challenged some folks' thinking. I think we're all walking contradictions. Every single one of us. We're all walking contradictions, and it's okay. It's fine. We just have to continue to challenge ourselves to rise up and to do better. Because just because you know better don't mean you do better. but you actually have to do something differently. And so I hope that you think a little bit differently after tonight's conversation about, for the brothers, what it means to be a man, how you show your manhood, about that V word, vulnerability. But nobody's trying to make, I ain't trying to make nobody a woman. I don't want a woman personally. I want a man. And I want this man right here. And so I don't want you to show up like me. Because that would irritate. I would irritate the hell out of me.
Yes, you do. You said what was an octave that you hit? You want me to be like that?
I would be fine if you did that. But what I'm saying to you is, if you like had a high pitched in sex, is that what you're saying? That's fine. But that's not the point. The point I'm saying is that I want you to be you. You are a man. And there are places where you can stretch and expand your concept of what that means, just like it would be for me as a woman. You understand what I'm saying? But we're talking about men tonight. So
I think that the important point here, y'all, is that there needs to be space for us to be able to speak freely, to express our thoughts and feelings, to really approach this topic from a space of authenticity. As I mentioned a moment ago, like, I'm just done. I'm done.
What?
I'm done with
Why are you done?
But here's the thing. So because when you begin to express, like, you can't say one thing, you can't say another thing, you can't speak from a space of authenticity, because everything is judged, everything is criticized, everything is problematic for somebody or some group or something. And so as a result, like, whatever way you move, like, it becomes an issue. And so it's best to be quiet. But what I realized from a therapeutic perspective, it's not the right approach to take. But all I'm asking is that when we have conversations like these, when we talk like these, the important thing is that a safe space is created. And so when a safe space is created, what that enables is more authentic and engaging dialogue. Right. And so that's the best that we can do, because, again, I'm gonna have my thoughts, my wife gonna have hers. Especially as it pertains to the last topic, we go back and forth about that all the time. We didn't get into the full depth of the discussion that we have, but we process that often. And so again, I think that we need to be able to create room for, even if you don't agree, opening up the floor to be able to express the thoughts and feelings, so that we can dissect, we can measure, we can examine fully what those things are, and arrive at a space of increased enlightenment. Hopefully.
Increased enlightenment.
I don't know if I'm there right now.
You're not normally like this. You're like irritated right now.
It might be my drink. I need to work out. That's what it is.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening tonight. Thank you for giving your comments. Thank you for sharing. Please, still, if you have not shared this video, please share it. We appreciate every one of you. We go back and look at the comments. So any thoughts that are still sitting on your spirit, go ahead and drop them. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. We appreciate you. At the end of the day, none of this stuff that we're doing here right now ain't going to mean nothing if you don't take something and apply it, okay? Make sure you apply it. Raquel, that's true. At the end of the day, y'all, remember, you got to stop playing
and start pushing.
Bye, y'all.